How's Christmas break coming off of a loss?
I mean, it's any time of year coming off a loss isn't great, but certainly not ideal when you have a 10-day break. But everybody got back here on time. We got back to the practice floor, and you move on to the next.
When you look at the last 10 minutes of that Villanova game specifically, what were kind of some of the takeaways that you guys need to do better there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we didn't make shots, and we didn't make free throws, and you have to do both. And then, defensively, weren't as good at the rim as we needed to be, and then got lost on a couple 3-point shots that allowed them to get a little momentum.
These days off give you any chance to self-scout, and if so, is there anything that stood out like, hey, we're actually not bad at this, or hey, I actually thought we were better at this?
I mean, you're always self-scouting, not only during a break, but we evaluate every game the same, regardless of whether we win or lose, on what we're doing well and what we have to get better at. And obviously, our offensive and defensive numbers are still pretty good. 12 games in, I think we're in the top 22 or 23 in the country in both offense and defense. But you got to win the games. We had an opportunity to win that one and let it slip away. So we've got to finish a little better.
What's the pulse of the team right now after a couple losses that you want to get back on?
We've only lost one, so we beat a top 10 team in the net right before that. So you have to have a short memory in basketball, and generally you're playing 2 or 3 days later. And 10 days is a little trickier, but they got home, they got to be with their families. They needed that. That break is so important this time of year. And now we're going into Hornets' Nest on Saturday. Marquette's they're one of the teams in the country that I think has a chance to win a national championship.
Did you watch any Big East games during the break? And do you have a view on how the league shakes out at this point right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I watch Providence and Marquette because we're playing Marquette. Watched the Georgetown Marquette game as well. Didn't really watch anything else. But obviously Butler, I haven't seen him play much, but they're much improved. Providence had 2 really good home wins. Seton Hall beats UConn at home. St. John's plays UConn really close on the road. So the league is really, really good again, and you're going to have to be ready every single night.
What allowed Marquette to be so good last year against you guys, and then how are they different, or are they the same this year?
Yeah, well, I mean, we played them the first time without Kalk, and then the second time it came down to the very end. And we turned it over too much the second half. That allowed him to get some separation and get that 10-point lead, and then we were able to get it back to a one-possession game. Just couldn't quite finish it. But in my evaluation, I think they have, if not the best passing point guard in the country, he's certainly in the conversation. And I know they have the best passing center in the country in Iguodaro. So when you put those two together, it's a problem because they just don't make mistakes with the basketball, and they make you pay for whatever defensive scheme you try to come up with to try to slow down their flow and their pace. They have 2 of the best in the country that are their decision makers.
With how good they are at making those decisions, how do you make them take the shots you want them to take?
Yeah, it's tricky because they take less mid-range shots than they'll take some in the lane, some floaters maybe, but in terms of 2-point shots outside the paint, they're as hard a team in the country to get them to take those shots, and that's what our defense is designed to do. So our ability to try to protect the rim a little bit better than we did when we played them last year is going to be critical, and then understanding personnel, like who can you not give a 3-point shot to, and then who are the guys that maybe you could live with a little.
Going into a tough road game like this, is it tougher going off of a long break? Like 10 days?
Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to enjoy going to Marquette this year that much because their team's so good. But, like I said, I think it's refreshing that the guys can get home. Obviously, they were disappointed in the loss like we were. But, they also got to spend some time with their families, and they really, hadn't been home and seen them for a couple months. So, I thought they were energized when they came back to campus.
When you send them away on break, do you ever get concerned, like you want them to rest, but you also want them to stay in shape so they don't come back to win?
No, they had a prescribed workout plan that Jeremy Anderson put together of how much they wanted him in the gym and when they wanted him in the gym. They needed a day or two off, but I was pleased with the way they came back on the 26th.
Defensively, what's the key to Marquette's ability to disrupt teams, especially their flow and projecting those passes that seem easy?
Their anticipation skills are off the charts, and they have a lot of length. And then Iguodaro's, he's good at he's an elite shot blocker and protects the rim back there, so it's hard to get easy stuff there. But 1 through 3 especially, they're kind of interchangeable, so they can switch a lot of things and not really get themselves into a bad matchup because of their ability to switch and stay in front. So you just got to be careful. You can't passes on the move and passes that are 50-50 passes against Marquette. They're probably going the other way. So we have to be really disciplined with our decisions.
I know read and react is kind of the name of the game offensively, but do you think Kalkbrenner's involved in that?
What's that now?
Low post and things like that when maybe the shots aren't falling from the corner?
Kalkbrenner in the low post? Yeah, I mean, we've got to get it there. Now, understand this, too. Teams are doing a pretty good job of trying to keep it out of there. They know that we want to go there as well. So, he's got to work a little harder to get it, and then, we have to make sure that we don't miss him when he's open. All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.